Hey Hofstra fans, welcome inside the WB Mason Coaches Report with Abby Morgan. I'm Anthony Barra, joined by Abby Morgan, the head coach of the Hofstra Pride Women's Lacrosse team. Coach, as always, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Doing pretty good. You had a pretty good weekend. You went 1-1 to wrap things up in the regular season. Your first win was a 1-goal win against Old Dominion. It put you into the CAA tournament. What did you see from your team on Friday?
It was a tough game. You know, we probably should have won by more than one. We had a lapse at the end of the game. Kind of after that 10 minutes in the second half, we did well in that time period. But Old Dominion is always a team that will not go down without fighting. I mean, they just pushed and pushed, and we started to turn the ball over. And thankfully, we were one goal. You only got to win by one.
Now, coming into the weekend, you knew that if you won one of the games that you had, you would get into the CAA tournament. So how big was it that you got the win on Friday to put you into the tournament? You didn't have to worry about trying anything out on Sunday.
Yeah, it was definitely, looking back at the weekend, it was great that we were in on Friday, and Sunday was just a little less pressure, but still against a great team. So it was nice to have it secured then, and actually the first time as I can remember, that the field was set on not the last day, that it was set before that. So we just didn't know where we were going at that point, but we knew that it was JMU, Towson, ourselves, and Drexel.
Now you had a 1-goal win on Friday, a 1-goal loss on Sunday, but we'll take this game in parts. You go down 6-2 earlier on. Why do you think they were able to jump out to a lead?
We didn't take care of the ball because our turnovers were in bad shooting. In the first half, and we started to turn it over a little bit more in the second. But in the first half, we had a ton of shots, and we just did not land them. And their goalie, Lucy Thompson, did a fabulous job as a freshman. And watching their game on Friday night against Drexel, she had a great game too. I mean, she was just a hot weekend for her, and we could not find a way to beat her in that first half.
Now you were able to rally back. Do you think it was just limiting turnovers that allowed the comeback for your team, or what were the other factors?
Yeah, I think that we firmed up some things on the defensive end. That was something right away. I mean, their first goal was one we knew was going to happen. We knew we could see it on film, and we just didn't defend it well. So we changed some things defensively, and we got the ball a little bit more. We won the draw controls, and then we started to turn it over a little bit, but we were able to get some fast break goals. Lindsay McKinnon came up huge in the second half, and then Marianne Miller came up great too. Both of them were on. So when players are on, and that's kind of been rare for our team. We've had a lot of balanced scoring, and when you do have players who are feeling it, and you could tell in both of their eyes that they were feeling it, we wanted to get the ball to them, and they did a good job bringing us back.
Now William & Mary ultimately was able to come out with the 8-7 win. What did you see from them on the game winner?
In overtime it was tough because we came back and tied it. I don't know how much time was left, but an amazing shot that I don't think, even talking to Marianne after the game, she was like, I have no idea how that went in. Maybe combination of a little wet turf, but or her just kind of, she's like, I don't even remember how it went there, and that's when you know somebody's really in it. But in overtime, I mean, we gave up a real tough one where we had a save, and Jackie threw it to one of our midfielders, Emily Von Holland, and it was just, we needed a little bit more patience, a little more composure. That turned into a goal, and then we got a 3 seconds call that turned into another goal, and we got one to get back in it, but it was tough. I mean, you never want to lose in overtime, and that's something we kind of pride ourselves in, that composure, that time and score. But the one thing to walk away from it is we hadn't been in an overtime game yet this year, and I think every year we've been in an overtime game. So it was a little bit of experience that we didn't have going into the CAA championship, and maybe that'll help us.
Now, the weather has been bizarre throughout your entire season. Some weeks you've had 75-degree weather, and then you've had 40-degree weather. Sunday, the wind was terrible, the rain was terrible. How much of a factor do you think that played?
Well, it sounded like it was everybody had the same situation. I know in Baltimore it was the same way. In the first half, I think there were some extra passes that we didn't need to make. A couple, loose sticks that passes were a little bit errant, but I mean, it really is rain is something that we always play with, and this year we've just been lucky. That was our first rain game when usually we have like 5 and they're all at home. But I think we adjusted well, and it's unfortunate because it was our senior day, and there definitely were a lot of distractions of the day, and I think we blocked out some of them. But ultimately, William & Mary has been fighting with every single CAA team. They haven't lost by more than a couple goals to everybody that has been their losses, and they were bound to get somebody, and it was us on Sunday.
Now, you're in the CAA championship as the 3 seed. You're going to take on James Madison in the first round. Every year that you've been a head coach and made it to the CAA tournament, you face one of your former colleagues, Shelly Claes-Bauckham and James Madison. Talk about the rivalry you have between you two and the two programs.
It's huge. It really, throughout the CAA, it is a huge rivalry for us, but JMU is always just a little bit different. They're a team with a lot of energy and enthusiasm. They get excited about every small little play, which is great, but it also can be an intimidating factor for a lot of teams, and I think that our team, it just riles our team up more. Unfortunately, we haven't matched that kind of rivalry piece with a win in a while. So we know that from our game in the regular season, it was our first of that slate in April of CAA games, and we actually just watched the film yesterday with the team, and we are not the same team. And I asked them how many times we had said that in the span of an hour, and they said almost every time we talked about something. We don't do that the way that we did in that game. So it's amazing how much a team can change in 3 weeks with 6 games. So it is always a rivalry, and it will be again, and hopefully we come out on top.
Now, one thing that I remember from being at the last game against James Madison in the CAA championship a couple of years ago was that the freshmen on the team, players like a Jill Mayer, were apologizing to Karine Gandolfi and Kaylee Vanneman because their careers were over. Mm-hmm. Have you seen the players that were on that team pass that message along to the underclassmen?
Definitely. It's been such an up and down and adversity season. The whole thing has been, our non-conference schedule was very tough. And we didn't come out up on the winning end of really any of those games except for Colgate. So we faced a lot, and I think that our upperclassmen, and it started to happen throughout CAAs, and it usually starts in that beginning of CAA period. But now that we're in that conference tournament and we haven't been back there since 2010, those players all remember. And it's nice that it's actually kind of nice that we're not going down to James Madison, so it's not bringing all of those feelings back and those frustrations back. But this is a team that needs to make up for those things, and you never forget, especially a season like that where we pulled off a great win against Towson in the semifinal and faced JMU in the final and came up short. But it was an intense game for sure, an intense weekend, and I think that we'll make some changes from that.
Now, you brought up your earlier matchup with the Dukes. They won 12-6. What is it about them that just makes them consistently such a strong team?
Well, I think that they're very aggressive, and in the first 5-7 minutes of that game, we got down quickly, and they hit us with a couple goals, and we were then in that, as coaches, you have a lot of back pocket things, if you're up or if you're in the game, and we were just not in the game from the start, and we were always battling back. So that's going to be important for us to just battle from the start. And especially with a lot of freshmen playing, a lot of sophomores who, hadn't seen that and hadn't really competed with that as well as we did. That's what we need to. We're ready for that. That intimidation factor, that aggressive factor, we know. And I think there's a lot more teams that we faced in our non-conference schedule who did that as well. So going back to, you set up your non-conference schedule to prepare you for CAAs. And I think that we were a lot more prepared with the style of play that James Madison and Towson play, with the aggressive nature, with the checks and then the body and all of those things. So I think we did a better job preparing. Yes, we didn't get wins out of those non-conference games, but we were prepared a little bit more.
Now, you can't prepare a player for the nerves that they're going to have before a tournament game, that first couple of minutes. So how much are you leaning on the players that were on that 2010 team that had the tournament experience to get you through the first couple of possessions?
Yeah, it's interesting because usually your upperclassmen sometimes are a little bit more nervous, and your freshmen are so naive that they just, they're the ones who don't have those nerves because they don't really know what it's all about. But we've talked a lot about that, and we had a good kind of pregame of this past weekend where we had that Sunday game. It didn't matter in terms of where we were going in the tournament, but it mattered a lot to our team, and we wanted to go in with 2 games, 3-game winning streak, a lot of confidence, and I think we learned a lot out of that game. So hopefully the nerves will turn into aggressive play, and that's where we need to start off the game that way.
Now, Towson is the top seed in the tournament, so the games are going to be played at Towson on a grass field. Some rain in the forecast for Thursday. The tournament starts on Friday. How does a grass field change up your game at all?
Well, it's interesting because we've been on two grass fields this year in James Madison and George Mason, and neither of them are, as comparable to this field. But none of the CAA teams have played on this field, so, and Towson probably has already only played on it this week. So it's a new field for everyone, and that's nice because James Madison's grass is unique. It's very long and it's tough. So this will be different, and it will be a different atmosphere. And I think it's also a good thing because it's not like our other trip to Towson. We were already there this year. It's different. We're playing in a different place. Everything should feel different, and hopefully, we can look at it as a different game than when we were down there before.
Now, the CAA does not have the automatic qualifier to the NCAA tournament this year, so regardless of who wins the CAA championship, no guarantee that you get in, and even if you did, it might still be tough for you to get into the tournament. But how big would this be where even if you can't get into the NCAA tournament, a CAA championship, a title, or even an appearance in a title game would make this a pretty successful season overall?
Oh, it would be great. And, whoever does win, they will be in that play-in game. But that play-in game, you never know. Once you get to that point, anybody can beat anybody, and that's the same thing within this championship. But I think it's a great step for our program to get back to the tournament. We've kind of been on and off for a while now, and the CAA has gotten better. And always, Towson and JMU have been at that top, and we need to compete with those teams. And that's the situation we're in, and hopefully we can show people that we are at that level.
Now, you take on James Madison on Friday, then the winner of your game takes on the winner of Towson Drexel. So what is going to be the key to next week when we're sitting here, we're talking about the 2012 CAA championship, CAA champion Hofstra women's lacrosse team?
I think it's going to have to be our mental toughness. I mean, we really have to go into both of these, this weekend situation with getting rid of all the distractions, a lot of team, and we need to come out in the beginning. And we've gotten in a lot of trouble when we have not come out, and we've gotten down goals, and we fought back, but it's always been too little too late. So we need to compete from the start. And when you get in a championship situation as well, it is about your execution. So we're changing up some things here and there, throwing in some new stuff that maybe these teams haven't seen before. That's coaching strategy-wise, but execution, it's all about what those players do on the field. So executing, being mentally tough, and not letting all the hoopla distract us.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hofstra fans, for joining us inside the WB Mason Coaches Report with Abby Morgan.